The night was quiet. No wind, no sound. Just silence in the deep forest outside the city. 3 young men stood near a tall wall made of dark glass and steel. They wore black clothes and carried small tools in their pockets. Their names were Tommy, Rafik, and Lino. They were not bad people, but they had taken a bad path. Life in the city had been hard. They had no money, no jobs, and no one to guide them. So they became thieves. Tommy, the tallest, pointed at the house behind the wall. "This is the one," he whispered. "Rich man, no family. He lives alone." "Easy target," Rafik smiled. "Let's get in. No guards, no dogs." "Maybe he's too old to notice." Lino didn't say anything. He was nervous, but he followed them. They climbed the wall, careful not to make noise. The house was huge, white stone, long windows, and lights glowing softly from inside. It looked peaceful, like something out of a dream, but they didn't care about beauty. They were here to steal. Tommy used a small tool to open a side door. It clicked open. They stepped inside. The inside was even more strange. It was warm and smelled like old wood. The floor was clean, the air fresh. There were no cameras, no alarms, no sign of danger. Just soft music playing somewhere far in the house. "Split up," Tommy said. "We'll meet back in 10 minutes." They nodded and walked in different directions. Rafik went to the left hallway. He saw books, strange machines, and glowing lights. One machine showed maps of planets. He didn't understand it, so he kept walking. Lino walked into a wide room full of glass walls and green plants. It looked like a garden inside the house. He had never seen anything like it. Tommy went upstairs. He passed doors with metal locks and pictures of stars on the walls. He opened one door slowly and stepped inside. Then a voice spoke. "You're early." Tommy froze. The voice was calm, not angry, not loud, just calm. An old man was sitting in a chair near the window. He had white hair and wore simple clothes. His eyes were bright, and he smiled gently. Tommy didn't know what to do. He backed away. I thought this room was empty." The old man nodded. "I know, you're not alone. 3 of you. Tommy, Rafik, and Lino, right?" Tommy's mouth went dry. How do you know?" "I've been watching," the old man said, "from the moment you jumped the wall." Just then, the lights in the room changed. Soft blue turned into bright white. The windows shut. The doors locked with a soft click. Rafik and Lino ran into the room. "Something's wrong." "The doors are locked," the old man finished their sentence. "Yes, you're in my house now." Rafik stepped forward. "We'll leave. We didn't take anything. Let us go." The old man stood up slowly. "You're free to leave." "After 1 week." "1 week?" Lino shouted. "Why?" The old man looked at them. He didn't seem angry. He seemed curious. Kind even, because, he said, "I think you're not bad people. You're just lost. And maybe, if you stay here for 7 days, I can show you another way to live." Tommy was confused. "You're not calling the police?" The old man smiled. "No, I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to teach you." Rafik frowned. "Teach us what?" The old man walked to the center of the room. The walls around them suddenly lit up like screens, showing pictures of stars, machines, cities, and people doing strange work. "I was once a part of something big," he said. "A project to train young humans to build a better future. But over time, the world forgot people like me. Now I live quietly, waiting for the right minds to walk through my door." "You think we're the right minds?" Tommy asked. "I think you could be," the old man replied. "If you're willing to listen." Lino looked around. "So we're trapped?" "You're not trapped," the old man said. "The doors are locked, yes. But the choice is yours. You can fight me, try to break things, or wait for the week to end and leave with empty hands. Or you can stay, learn, Change. Tommy looked at Rafik. Rafik looked at Lino. None of them spoke. The old man turned to leave. There's food in the kitchen. Beds in the East Hall. The house will not hurt you. It only listens to me. Good night. He walked out and the door closed behind him. For a moment, the three stood in silence. This is crazy, Rafik said. We came to steal, and now we're in school. Tommy sat down. I don't know. Maybe we should hear him out. Lino nodded slowly. He didn't yell. He didn't hit. He didn't scare us. That's more than anyone ever did for us. They didn't sleep much that night, but they didn't try to run either. Somewhere deep in the house. The old man smiled as he watched them on the screen. Step 1, he whispered. Make them feel safe. Tomorrow we begin. The next morning, sunlight passed gently through the glass ceiling of the mansion. Birds sang outside, and the house played soft music again. Everything felt peaceful. Almost too peaceful. To me, Rafik and Lino sat at a long table in the dining room. The table was already full of food, bread, fruit, tea, eggs, and more. None of them had eaten like this in a long time. Rafik stared at the food. He made all this? Lino touched a warm cup. Maybe the house made it. This place feels like it runs itself. Tommy didn't eat. He looked around the room, still thinking about the night before. Why would a man like him care about us? Before anyone could answer, the old man walked in. He wore the same simple clothes and smiled kindly. Good morning, he said. Eat, you'll need your energy. Rafik stood up. What is this? Some kind of game? No game, the old man said. You came into my house as thieves. But I saw something different in your eyes. Not greed, hunger, confusion, anger, maybe. You've been hurt by the world, so you took a shortcut. Tommy frowned. And you want to fix us? I don't fix people, the old man said. But I offer them a choice. He sat down at the head of the table. The lights in the room adjusted and the soft music stopped. You can stay here for 7 days, he continued. During that time, I will teach you 3 things. How to think, how to create, and how to lead. After that, you're free to leave. No police, no punishment. Lino looked at him. And if we say no? You are still free, the old man said. But the doors will not open until 7 days pass, so the time is yours to waste or use. Rafik sat down again, eyes cold. Why us? Because, said the old man, you came looking for something valuable. And I have something much more powerful than money, knowledge. They were quiet for a while. Then Tommy finally reached for a slice of bread. Okay, we'll listen. But only 4. Today, the old man nodded. 1 day at a time. After breakfast, the house led them to different rooms. The doors opened by themselves. Lights turned on when they entered. It was like the house knew where they needed to go. Tommy was taken to a room filled with machines. The walls were covered in wires, screens, and strange floating tools. A calm female voice spoke from above. Welcome, Tommy. This is the engineering room. Today we will learn about energy. Tommy stepped forward. Are you the house? I am the system, the voice said. You may call me Era. Tommy had never seen machines like this before. But something inside him felt excited. Rafik was taken to a room that looked like a market. Holograms of people walked around, traders, customers, leaders. There were screens showing prices, languages, and cultures from different planets. Era spoke to him too. Welcome, Rafik. This is the simulation hall. Today, you will learn how to trade with honor. Rafik laughed. Trade? You think I'm going to sell fruit in space? Not just fruit, Era replied. You will learn how humans built trust among aliens, without weapons, just words. Rafik rolled his eyes, but sat down anyway. The screen changed and a virtual market opened in front of him. Lino was taken to a quiet room filled with lights and music. Words floated in the air, and shapes moved slowly around him. "Welcome, Lino," Era said. "This is the creative lab. Today, you will learn to see the future." Lino looked confused. "See the future?" "By creating ideas," Era explained. "Everything begins with imagination." Lino didn't speak much, but he looked around the room and saw something new, a place where his thoughts mattered, where nothing was judged out. Hours passed. Each of the three worked in their rooms, slowly beginning to understand what they were being shown. To me, struggled with the machines. His first energy cell exploded. The second burned out. But the third one lit up. Rafik failed 3 deals in the simulation. The alien traders called him dishonest. But on the 4th try, he listened first, and then spoke. The deal was accepted. Lino sat for an hour doing nothing. Then, slowly, he began to draw in the air with his hands. A city appeared, clean, green, and peaceful. Era saved the model and praised him. That evening, the 3 returned to the dining room. Dinner was already served. This time, they didn't hesitate. They sat and ate quietly, each thinking about their strange day. The old man entered and sat with them. Tomi looked up. "Why are you doing this? What do you get from it?" The old man smiled. "I once had teachers like you do now. They didn't need to help me, but they did. And with their help, I helped Earth become better. Now my time is ending. So I'm passing it forward." Rafik asked, "You don't want anything from us?" "I want you to see yourselves as more than thieves," he said. "I want you to see what you could become." Lino said softly, "I like the room you gave me." The old man nodded. "Then we begin again tomorrow." That night, the 3 young men sat in their rooms, each thinking quietly. Tomi whispered to himself, "Maybe I'm not just a thief." Rafik looked at the screen and said, "So many deals. But it felt good when I won fair." Lino wrote 3 words on the wall next to his bed. "I can build." In the control room, the old man watched the screens. His eyes were tired, but hopeful. "They're not perfect," he said to Era, "but they're trying. They are changing." Era replied, "Slowly but surely." The old man smiled. "That's all I ever wanted." The second day in the mansion began with a soft chime. Tomi, Rafik, and Lino woke up to the same calm music that had played the day before. Sunlight came through the glass ceiling, and fresh air filled the rooms. The house smelled of bread and tea. But today, the 3 young men didn't feel like thieves anymore. They didn't rush or whisper. They came to breakfast quietly, each one carrying new thoughts in their heads. The old man, Marlo, was already sitting at the table. He greeted them with a smile. "Good morning, boys." "Ready to continue?" Tomi nodded. "I want to learn more about that energy machine." Rafik crossed his arms. "The trading part is harder than I thought, but I'll try again." Lino gave a small smile. "I made a city in the air. Era said it was good." Marlo looked pleased. "Excellent. You are each starting to discover something important, your mind. When used the right way, it can create power, respect, and peace. Now go. Era is waiting." Tomi. Learning to build, Tomi returned to the engineering room, where the machines hummed softly. The walls showed blueprints and diagrams. In front of him was a large table with tools, most of them unknown to him. "Welcome back, Tomi," Era said. "Today, you will build a basic power cube using recycled materials." Tomi took a deep breath. "I'm ready." Era guided him, step by step. First, he had to gather old wires, small parts, and broken panels from a storage unit. Then he had to clean them, connect the circuits, and test them with energy pulses. His hands were slow, but steady. Halfway through, a spark flew out and burned his finger. He jumped back and almost gave up, but then he remembered Marlo's words. "Failure is not the end. It is the start of real learning." He tried again. This time with more focus. By the end of the lesson, he had created a small cube that gave off a soft white glow. Era spoke gently. "Well done, Tomi. You just created light from waste." Tomi smiled for the first time in days. Rafik, learning to communicate to Rafik, sat in the simulation hall, where virtual aliens from different planets walked and talked. Today, the challenge was harder. "Rafik," Era said, "your task is to negotiate peace between two trade groups. One wants to control water, the other wants to sell it." Rafik rolled his eyes. "Why can't they just share? They do not trust each other." "That is your job, to create trust." Rafik stepped into the simulation. He talked to both sides, asking questions, listening carefully. He tried to make deals, but both groups refused. One said he talked too much. The other said he didn't understand their needs. He sat down, frustrated. Then he thought back to his own life. Times when people didn't listen to him. Times when he felt invisible. So he stood up and tried again. This time, he let them speak first. He took notes. He found a small detail both groups agreed on. They didn't want war. Using that one point, Rafik built a deal, a shared water route, with fair prices for all. The simulation ended. Both sides shook hands. Era said, "You did not win by talking. You won by listening," Rafik whispered. "Now I understand." Lino, learning to imagine in the creative lab. Lino stood in the center of a giant room. Colors moved around him. Shapes floated in the air, waiting for his thoughts. "Welcome, Lino," Era said. "Today you will create a solution to a real-world problem. A town on Mars has no safe shelter from dust storms. What will you design?" Lino stared at the space in front of him. His hands moved slowly in the air, and a sketch began to form. Walls, doors, a roof. But it looked like a normal building. He frowned. "It doesn't feel special." Era responded gently. "What makes something special is not how it looks, but how it helps." Lino closed his eyes. He imagined himself in that town. The red dust flying outside. The fear, the cold. Then he changed the design, added underground rooms, walls made of local stone, energy from heat under the surface. He even made small garden areas inside, so people could breathe fresh air. When he opened his eyes, the design floated before him. Era said softly, "That could save lives." Lino didn't say anything. He only smiled and saved the design. Dinner and discovery that evening, all three came back to the dining room. Marlo was waiting, as always. "You've made progress," he said. "What did you learn today?" Tomi answered first. "Even broken things can work again, if you learn how to fix them." Marlo nodded. "Like people." Rafik said, "Listening is more powerful than speaking. And trust takes time." "Very true," Marlo replied. Lino spoke last. "My ideas can help people I'll never meet. That feels good." Marlo smiled. "And that feeling is the root of true success, creating something that lives beyond you." They ate in silence for a while. Then Tomi looked at Marlo. "You used to work on big projects, right? With space travel and Earth energy?" Marlo nodded. "Long ago. I helped design early systems for human colonies. But when the world changed, I chose to step back. I built this house not to hide, but to wait." "Wait for what?" Rafik asked. "For minds that were hungry, not just for food, but for meaning," Marlo said. "Like yours." The night before the test after dinner, the boys sat outside in the garden. The stars above them were bright and clear. Tomi looked up. "Do you think we're really changing?" Rafik shrugged. "I don't know. But it feels better than running from guards and stealing bread." Lino picked a small flower. "He didn't force us. He showed us a door. We walked through." They sat together, not as thieves, but as students, learning something far bigger than they had ever known before. And deep inside the mansion, Marlo watched them on the screen, his eyes soft with hope. "They're learning," he whispered. Tomorrow, they faced their first test. The fourth day began differently. The music didn't play. The lights were dim. The house felt quiet, as if it was holding its breath. Tommy, Rafik, and Lino walked to the dining room but found no breakfast on the table. Only a note written in clean handwriting. "Today, no teaching. Today, you must explore. The house will guide you." Tommy raised an eyebrow. "Is this a break?" Rafik looked around. Or maybe a test. Lino picked up the note and read it again. He said, "The house will guide us." Just then, a soft voice echoed through the air. "Good morning," said Era, the house AI. "Each of you must follow a different path today. Go where the lights lead you." Small lights appeared on the floor, like stars marking a trail. Without speaking, each of them followed their own glowing path, deeper into the house. Tommy, the hidden workshop Tommy's path, took him downstairs, far below the main halls. He passed silent rooms and closed doors until he reached a metal hallway. At the end was a large round door that opened slowly. Inside was a massive workshop. The room was full of strange machines, unfinished robots, solar panels, and tools Tommy had never seen before. Era spoke from above. "This is the legacy room. These are inventions your world forgot." Tommy walked slowly, staring at everything. Some machines were made from wood and metal. Others used crystals and energy fields. He stopped at a glass box. Inside was a floating sphere, glowing softly. "What is this?" he asked. "It is a zero-gravity core," Era replied. "Marlowe built it 50 years ago. It can remove gravity in small zones, useful for space travel, mining, or medical care." Tommy stared in awe. "But why is it here? Why not out in the world?" "Because the world stopped listening," Era said. "It wanted profit, not progress." Tommy touched the glass gently. He didn't fully understand how it worked, but he knew it was powerful. And someone, a human, had made it with their own hands. A thought came into his mind. "If Marlowe can build something like this, maybe I can too someday." Rafik, the room of failurous Rafik's path, led him to a dark hallway filled with glowing pictures on the walls. As he walked, he noticed the pictures were not art. They were records. Documents, letters, photos of projects that had failed. He stepped into a wide room. At the center was a hologram of Earth, slowly spinning. Around it floated words. Mistakes, not regrets. Era spoke gently. "This is the Hall of Lessons. Marlowe asked me to bring you here. He says a true leader must understand failure." Rafik looked around. One image showed a spaceport that never launched. Another showed a water system that broke down. A third showed a peace deal that ended in silence. He frowned. "These are all his failures?" "Yes," said Era. "He failed many times. But each failure taught him something. He never hid from them. He learned." Rafik stood in the center of the room. A screen lit up in front of him. It showed a video, young Marlowe speaking to a group of students. "If you want to lead," Marlowe said in the video, "learn how to lose with dignity and rise again with wisdom." Rafik watched the video twice. He had never thought of failure that way. He whispered, "Then maybe I still have time." Lino. The living library. Lino's path led him to a giant dome-shaped room. The walls were made of light. When he stepped inside, the room came alive with moving images, cities, mountains, oceans, stars. Era spoke softly. "This is the living library. It holds every idea Marlowe ever studied, saved, or dreamed." Lino looked up. "It's beautiful." Era responded, "You are a creator, Lino. You do not need to copy. You only need to imagine." As Lino walked, the room responded to his thoughts. When he imagined music, the walls played sounds. When he thought of green places, the floor turned into a forest path. It was like walking inside his own mind. He stopped at a story floating in the air. A small village that survived alone on the moon by growing food in caves and cleaning air with moss. He read it slowly. Humans had done that, together, with no robots, no war, just ideas. Lino felt his chest grow warm. Maybe my ideas can help people too. He turned to the wall and started designing again. A quiet meeting by evening, the three boys returned to the dining room. This time, food had been served, soup, fruit, and warm bread. Marlo was already sitting there. "You found the rooms," he said. Tommy sat down, his face serious. "Why are you hiding all this? The machines, the library, even your past." Marlo looked down for a moment, "Because I gave up once." Rafik looked surprised. "You?" "Yes," Marlo said. "Years ago, when the world turned greedy, when no one listened to ideas that didn't bring money, I stopped trying. I came here to protect what was left, knowledge, creativity, values." Lino asked, "So why are you showing it to us?" Marlo looked at them. "Because I see something in you, the same thing my teachers once saw in me. You've made mistakes. So have I, but I believe you still have the courage to build something new." They ate quietly for a while. Then Tommy said, "I don't want to steal anymore." Rafik nodded. "Me neither," Lino whispered. "I want to create." Marlo smiled. "Then the house has done its job." The gift of knowledge. After dinner, Marlo gave each of them a small object, a silver ring, smooth and plain with a tiny code inside. "This is not for show," he said. "It gives you access to a hidden network, a group of humans across Earth, Mars and beyond, inventors, writers, builders, people like you. If you choose the right path, they will help you." Tommy turned the ring in his fingers. "Will we ever come back here?" Marlo shook his head. "No, when you leave, the house will sleep. It was never meant to be a place for many, just enough." Lino looked around the room, feeling something he had never felt before, hope. That night, none of them could sleep easily. Their minds were full, not of fear or regret, but ideas, dreams, and questions. Marlo sat in his quiet chair, looking at the stars through the glass roof. He whispered to the empty air. The house gave them the tools. What they do next is their choice. The next morning, the house was quiet again. No soft music. No breakfast on the table. Only a short message on the dining room wall, glowing in gentle blue light. "Today is your test. Complete it before sunset." Marlo, Tommy, Rafik, and Lino stood in front of the message, reading it again and again. "A test?" Rafik asked. Lino looked around. "He didn't say anything yesterday. Maybe this is the real reason we're here." Tommy nodded slowly. "We've been learning. Maybe today we prove what we've learned." Just then, ARA's calm voice filled the air. "Each of you has a personal task today. It will challenge your focus, patience, and heart. Do your best. That is all we ask." 3 small lights appeared again on the floor, leading in different directions. The 3 looked at each other. No one spoke. They only nodded and followed their paths. The broken grid Tommy's trail led into a tall room with high walls and flickering lights. The machines in the room were old, dusty, and silent. A screen on the wall turned on. Era spoke. "Tommy, your test is to repair this mini energy grid. Do not use modern tech, only the tools and wires inside this room." Tommy stepped forward. He saw cracked panels, rusted circuits, and tangled wires. It was worse than anything he had seen before. He pulled up his sleeves and began. The tools were simple, no smart screens, no voice commands. Just a screwdriver, wire cutter, and a bag of mixed parts. After 1 hour, nothing worked. The lights stayed off. After 2 hours, sparks flew and a fuse broke. He sat down tired, staring at the mess. "I don't know how to do this," he thought. Then he remembered Marlo's words. "Don't rush. Understand the system before you change it." He stood up, looked at the wires again, and followed each connection slowly, like reading a story. After a while, the grid made sense. He started over carefully. No shortcuts. By the 5th hour, the lights blinked. Then stayed on. Era spoke. Grid stable, power restored, task complete. Tommy smiled and whispered to himself, I didn't quit. That's the difference. Rafik, the trade negotiation Rafik's path, led him to the simulation hall again. But this time, the setup was different. There was only one virtual figure. A tall alien merchant with green eyes and long arms. Araya's voice spoke. Today's test. You must convince the alien to trade valuable medical herbs for a weak earth mineral. You may not use threats or lies. Only honesty, value, and respect. Rafik took a deep breath and stepped into the simulation. The alien looked at him and said in a deep voice, Your offer is poor. Why should I accept it? Rafik didn't rush. He thought carefully. Your people have strong bodies, but I've read your planet has low healing speed. Our herbs may help that. Not now, but over time. The alien folded his arms. Still, the trade is not equal. Rafik smiled slightly. True, but maybe we don't trade only goods. Maybe we start something more. A friendship between two sides. The alien looked surprised. You speak with no fear. I speak with purpose, Rafik said. There was a long pause. Then the alien offered his hand. Trade accepted. The simulation ended. Era spoke. Task complete. Well done, Rafik. He stepped back, heart beating fast. I did it. Not by tricking, but by thinking. Lino, the presentation Lino's path, led him back to the creative lab. But today, the space was quiet and dark. A single chair stood in the middle, facing a wide screen. Era spoke. Today, Lino, you will present one of your ideas to a virtual council of experts. You will explain your plan, your reason, and your hope. Are you ready? Lino stood quietly. His hands shook a little. He had never spoken to anyone important before, but he closed his eyes and imagined the town on Mars, the one without shelter, the one he had dreamed about helping. He walked to the center and faced the screen. 5 virtual experts appeared, men and women from different backgrounds, engineers, doctors, leaders. He took a deep breath and began. He explained how dust storms on Mars hurt people, how plants couldn't grow, and how normal shelters were not enough. Then he showed his design: underground walls, moss-powered air filters, energy from the deep ground. He didn't speak fast. He didn't try to impress them. He just spoke from the heart. When he finished, the screen was quiet for a moment. Then one expert said, "This design could save lives." Another added, "We have never seen this kind of creative thinking from someone your age." R's voice followed. "Task complete. You have passed." Lino sat down, his heart full. "My idea was heard. That's all I ever wanted." Evening reflections at sunset. The 3 young men returned to the dining room. The table was set with a warm meal, and Marlowe was waiting. He looked at each of them, one by one. "You completed the tests," he said. "Not because you had all the answers, but because you used your minds, your hands, and your hearts." Tommy spoke first. "It was hard. I failed at first," Marlowe nodded. "But you kept going. That's strength," Rafik smiled. "I didn't use tricks. I just listened." "That's wisdom," Marlowe said. Lino looked up. "They respected my idea. That gave me confidence." "That's leadership," Marlowe replied. They ate together in silence, not as teacher and students, but as equals. The final lesson after dinner, Marlowe took them to the garden behind the mansion. The stars above were brighter than ever. He pointed to the sky. "That's the same sky early humans looked at. We came from small places, but we dreamed big. That's why we survived." He turned to them. "You are not thieves anymore. You are thinkers, builders, leaders. Whatever path you take next, remember this. Real success isn't about being rich. It's about lifting others, fixing what is broken, and leaving something better behind. Tommy, Rafik, and Lino nodded slowly, and, for the first time in their lives, they believed those words. The next morning, sunlight entered the large glass windows of the mansion. Birds were singing near the garden, and the soft sound of flowing water came from the small fountain outside. Everything looked peaceful. To me, Rafik and Lino sat together in the main hall, eating their breakfast quietly. Each of them was thinking about the test from the day before. There was a new feeling between them, something strong but soft. Respect. Marlo entered the room slowly, wearing a simple brown coat and a calm smile on his face. "You've done well," he said. The three young men stood up. "You taught us a lot," Lino said with a proud voice. "You showed us who we really are," Rafik added. Marlo smiled and nodded. "Yes, and now comes the final step." The three looked at him with curious eyes. Marlo walked to the center of the room and pointed toward a large wooden door. It had been locked since the first day they entered the house. Now sunlight fell directly on it, as if calling them. "This," Marlo said, "is the door to the world." The invitation. The door creaked as it slowly opened. Behind it was not a simple hallway, but a long tunnel lined with screens, sounds, and moving images. The tunnel was full of scenes from different parts of the world. Floating cities in the clouds, underwater farms, deserts with solar trees, and children laughing. In space schools. Marlo turned to the young men. "These are places where help is needed, where people are building something better, but they don't have enough hands, minds, or hearts." He continued, "You can choose where to go. You can walk out of this house and use what you've learned and go back to the life you once knew." Tommy frowned. "Are you saying we leave today?" "Yes," Marlo answered. "But not as you were before. You are not lost boys anymore." The three stood in silence. The tunnel of screens waited patiently behind Marlo. A quiet walk after breakfast. Each of them took a walk around the house for the last time. Tommy stood in the power room. He touched the tools he had used, now clean and shining. "I understand now," he whispered. "Every wire tells a story." He picked up a small toolkit and placed it in his bag. Rafik walked into the simulation room once more. The platform was quiet now. No alien traders, no blinking lights. He smiled. "I don't need a fake world to speak well. I can do it for real now." He picked up a small notebook and wrote down, "Never forget respect." Then he put it in his pocket. Lino sat in the creative lab, staring at the drawings he had made. His eyes stopped at one, the Mars shelter. He didn't see it as a dream anymore. He saw it as a plan. "I'll build you," he said softly. He folded the drawing and placed it gently in his coat. The goodbye at sunset. They met Marlo in the garden. The stars were beginning to appear again, just like before. Marlo looked at each of them. "You came here by mistake," he said. "But you leave by choice." He walked up to them and handed each one a small card. On it was a symbol, half sun, half planet, and their names written below. "These are your keys," Marlo said. "They will open doors in places you cannot yet imagine. Places where people will listen, where your work will matter." Tommy held the card close. "We don't want to say goodbye," Marlo laughed gently. "Then don't say it. Just promise me this. Use what you've learned. Share it. Teach it. That's how you make a real change." They stepped forward together. They stepped into the tunnel. The screens adjusted as they walked, showing new messages. "Welcome, Tommy, Energy Project, New Delhi, Earth. Welcome, Rafik, Diplomacy Training, Orbiting Peace School. Welcome, Lino, Mars Shelter Lab, Underground Base 9. They looked at one another, smiling. They had different paths but one heart. The tunnel slowly faded to white light. They were gone. Marlo alone back in the mansion. Marlo walked back to his chair near the garden. Ura's soft voice echoed. "They have left. Do you think they're ready?" Marlowe smiled, staring at the stars. They were always ready. They just needed someone to remind them. He closed his eyes and listened to the wind in the trees. Then he whispered, "One day, they'll teach others too." Across the world weeks passed. On Earth, Tommy worked in a crowded city where power was weak and people suffered from blackouts. He repaired grids, trained others, and soon, people began to say, "This boy changed everything." Rafik stood on a floating station above the planet. He spoke to groups of children from different species, teaching them how to speak with respect, even in disagreement. He helped them find common ground. And peace began to grow. On Mars, Lino worked underground. The red dust storms blew above him, but inside the shelter, people were safe. His moss filters worked, his ideas grew. Other designers followed him. He smiled whenever he looked at the walls he had once only imagined. A letter home, one quiet night. Each of them received the same message from Marlowe. Success is not a place. It is a path. Walk it kindly. Walk it proudly. And when you see someone lost, show them the way. They read the words in silence, then looked around at the places they now called home. And each of them, without saying a word, knew one thing. They were no longer lost boys. They were builders of the future. Years passed quietly. The mansion stood strong at the edge of the forest, still glowing under the golden sun. The garden stayed green, and the sound of flowing water still played near the fountain. But inside, the house was no longer full of young voices or footsteps. It was peaceful. Marlowe, now older and slower, sat in his favorite wooden chair near the window, a cup of warm tea in his hand. His hair had grown fully white, and his hands were thinner, but his eyes were still sharp, filled with kindness, wisdom, and quiet strength. "Era," the voice assistant, broke the silence. "Would you like to hear the updates, Marlowe?" He nodded. Slowly, "Yes, tell me how they are." The builder Ara showed a screen in front of him. Tommy's face appeared first. He was now taller, stronger, and more confident. He stood with a group of engineers, building clean power stations across the desert of northern Africa. He had designed a new type of solar system, simple, low cost, and easy to fix. Villages once lost in darkness now had light at night. Children could study, hospitals could work, and people didn't need to burn wood or waste fuel anymore. Tommy was not just fixing wires now. He was fixing lives. The speaker next came. Rafik was standing in front of a large hall in the Peace School that floated above Earth. Around him sat children and teachers from many different planets. The room was full of quiet excitement. Rafik was no longer shy. He spoke clearly, slowly, and with feeling. "Respect," he told them, "is the first step to unity. We don't need to agree on everything, but we must listen." He had helped write the first shared peace agreement between 3 space nations. It was not easy, but it worked. He had become a voice people trusted. The dreamer, then Era showed. Lino, he was inside a massive dome on Mars. Plants of all kinds grew behind him, tall green trees, soft moss, and even fruits. His shelter designs had grown into full underground cities. Thousands lived safely because of him. He didn't stop dreaming. He made better filters. He taught younger builders. He smiled more. And every new project started with a simple sentence: "Let's make it real." The visit one evening, just as the sun touched the edge of the trees, a knock came at the front door of the mansion. Marlowe looked up, surprised. A harsh voice came in. "Guests at the door. Would you like me to open it?" Marlowe smiled and stood. Slowly, "Yes, open it." The door creaked open, and there they were. To me, Rafik, Lino, older, now wiser, stronger, but the same boys who once broke into this very house with empty hands and heavy hearts. They walked in without saying a word at first, just smiles and warm eyes. Then Tommy stepped forward. "We thought you might like some company." Marlowe opened his arms. More than anything, they hugged him tightly, not like students. Like family. The fire circle later that night, they sat around a small fire in the backyard. The stars sparkled above, just like the night they first arrived. I still remember our first day here, Rafik said. We were scared and stupid, Lino laughed. Speak for yourself, Tommy added. I remember thinking this was just an old house. Now I know it was a school, a secret one. Marlo looked at them, his voice soft. It wasn't the house. That changed you. It was choice. Each time you had a chance to return to the past, you didn't. The fire crackled gently. Crickets chirped in the distance. Rafik looked up. What do we do next? Marlo smiled. You already know. You build your own doors. The plan that night, the four sat and made a plan. A school, not for math or science, but for life. A place where lost boys and girls could come, learn about truth, discipline, kindness, and purpose. A place to begin again. It would be called the Open Path. Each of them would create a center on a different planet. They would teach not just skills, but values. Hard work, honesty, courage, forgiveness, respect. They would take in young people who had made mistakes, but who wanted a second chance, just like they had. The final morning, the next morning, the three young men packed their bags. But this time, it was not a goodbye. It was the start of something new. Before leaving, Tommy turned to Marlo and asked, "What if we fail?" Marlo looked him in the eye and answered, "Then you try again. That's what success really is." They nodded. Rafik added, "What if they don't listen, the ones we try to teach?" Marlo smiled. "Then you listen first, and when the time is right, they will hear you." Lino gave him one last hug. "Thank you, sir, for everything." "You don't need to thank me," Marlo said. "Just pass it forward." The new chapter. As the sun rose, their ships flew out into the sky, each toward a different world, a different future, and the mansion grew quiet again. But this time, it wasn't silence of loneliness. It was the silence of a mission complete. Marlo sat back in his chair, watching the sky with peaceful eyes. Era spoke gently. "Do you think they'll succeed?" Marlo didn't answer right away. He just watched the birds fly high and free. Then he whispered, "I know they will. Because they've already begun." The legacy begins months later, across 3 planets. Small buildings stood with a single symbol above their doors. Half sun, half planet. Inside, young voices laughed, cried, studied, failed, succeeded. New stories began. And on a quiet hill far away, in a house built not with steel but with faith, a rich old man sat in silence. Smiling. Because he knew sometimes the best treasures aren't gold or silver. They're people who choose to change.